My name is Danielle Moore. I was folding laundry on my tiny couch when the invitation arrived. A glossy gold envelope addressed to Miss Danielle Moore, with elegant cursive that felt completely out of place for someone like me. I almost thought it was a mistake, but no. Inside was a card. You are invited to celebrate Charles Moore's 60th birthday. Formal attire, gifts optional but encouraged. My father, the same man who hadn't called me in months. The same man who had slowly been drifting ever since he married Kendra, my stepmother, the queen of cold shoulders and plastic smiles. Still, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this was the start of a reconnection. Maybe he was finally remembering. I existed, beyond just the occasional awkward birthday text. So I got to work. I couldn't afford a gift from a store, but I poured my heart into a scrapbook. Photos from my childhood. Notes Dad had written me in my lunchbox. A pressed flower from the park he used to take me to every Sunday after Mom died. And one final note. Happy birthday, Dad. I miss the version of you that used to notice me. I borrowed a dress from a coworker, took the bus, walked 2 blocks in heels that pinched my toes. But when I arrived at the country club, I felt the stares. I wasn't like them. They wore champagne smiles and designer shoes. I clutched a homemade gift and looked like a guest who'd snuck in from the service entrance. Then I saw Kendra. She approached slowly, a flute of champagne in her hand and a frozen grin on her lips. Danielle, she said, her tone syrupy and fake. I'm afraid there's been a mistake. I blinked. I got the invitation. I thought. She cut me off. Yes, we didn't expect you to actually come. Charles is with real family now. My throat closed. I am real family. She glanced at my dress, then at my gift. Not tonight, you're not. This isn't your scene. Why don't you run? Along before you embarrass yourself further? Behind her, Madison and Eli were laughing. And my father? He just looked away. I placed the scrapbook on the reception table and walked out. I didn't cry. Not yet. But I did promise myself one thing. They would remember this night, just not for the reasons they expected. A week after the birthday party, my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. Danielle, the voice said. It's Dad. My fingers froze. I hadn't heard that voice directly in over 6 months. Not since he missed my college graduation because, as Kendra put it, he needed rest before their Bahamas trip. I was hoping we could grab lunch, he said softly. Just the 2 of us. I hesitated. Now you remember me? He sighed. I deserved that. We met at a small diner in the quiet part of town. Not the usual fancy places he went with. Kendra and the others. He looked tired, older than I remembered. He didn't wear his Rolex. He wasn't in a suit. He looked like my dad again. I'm sorry about what happened at the party, he said after a long silence. I didn't know they invited you, or that they told you to leave. I wanted to scream, to tell him that he let them erase me. But something in his eyes stopped me. I should have done better, he added. I didn't stand up for you. I've been a coward. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a thin white envelope. This is a copy. The original's with my lawyer. I updated it 2 months ago. I stared. What is this? My will. My breath caught. I know I haven't shown it much, but you're my daughter, Danielle, and you deserve more than how they've treated you. This is my way of trying to make it right. Quietly. Before it's too late. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to throw it back at him. Part of me wanted to believe it was real. He slid the envelope across the table. Just keep it safe. We finished lunch. No photos, no witnesses, just memories tucked between half-finished plates and unsaid words. It was the last time I saw him alive. 2 months later, I got a call from my old neighbor. Sweetie, I'm so sorry. Your father passed this morning. I dropped the phone. No one from the family had told me. No funeral invite. No obituary shared. They'd erased me again. But this time, I wasn't walking away quietly. I sat on the floor of my apartment for hours, the phone still lying beside me like a ghost I couldn't shake. He was gone. No warning, no call, no message from Madison. Not a single word from Eli. And certainly not from Kendra, who'd once told me I was just a leftover from Charles's first life. I checked social media. That's how I confirmed it. There it was, a filtered photo of Madison in black, her caption reading, "Rest in peace, Daddy. You'll always be my hero." Eli had posted a picture of Dad's watch. Kendra had posted nothing, just an empty wine glass beside a bouquet of white lilies. And me? I wasn't even mentioned. I called the funeral home listed on Madison's post. "Hi," I said shakily. "I'm Danielle Moore. Charles Moore was my father. Can you tell me when the service is?" There was a pause on the other end. "I'm so sorry, miss. The service was held yesterday. Private gathering only. Private. They planned it that way. They made sure I'd never get a chance to say goodbye." I clutched my stomach like I'd been punched. Then I remembered the envelope. Dad's will. The one he handed me at that quiet little diner, where he looked more like my father than he had in years. I pulled it out of my drawer, hands trembling. I hadn't opened it since that day. I thought it would be, I don't know, symbolic. But now it felt like a weapon. I scanned it carefully. It was real. Signed, dated, notarized. A full copy. And my name wasn't buried at the bottom in small print like I feared. It was front and center. Dad had left me something big. Something important. Something Kendra and her children clearly didn't know about. Or worse, they did know. And that's why they kept me out. I didn't cry that night. I didn't yell. I didn't post. I called the lawyer listed in the document. "Danielle Moore," I said firmly. "I believe my father left you something for me." Mr. Halverson, Dad's lawyer, sounded surprised when I called. "Danielle?" he asked slowly. "Yes, I've been waiting to hear from you. Your father told me you might reach out." He invited me to his office downtown, a place I'd never been allowed in during my childhood. That was always their world. The world of leather chairs and marble desks. A world where I was always the invisible shadow behind my father's tailored suit. But now I walked in with my chin high and Dad's copy of the will in my bag. Mr. Halverson shook my hand gently. "You look just like your mother," he said, voice full of something between nostalgia and guilt. She always had this fire in her eyes. He sat down across from me and pulled out the original file. "Your father made some changes that I don't believe his family is aware of. He came in without them. Told me, word for word, if anything happens to me suddenly, I want Danielle protected. I don't trust what's around me anymore." I swallowed hard. "Protected from who?" He gave a weary smile. "I think you already know." Then he read it out loud. Not just a sentimental token. Not a framed photo. Not a small something, like I feared. Dad had left me his entire original estate. The house, his share in the family company, the savings account from before he married Kendra, a safe deposit box, and even his antique book collection, which I used to sit and read from. As a child, he had rewritten the will. He had chosen me. "The rest of them?" I asked. "What did they get?" Halverson hesitated. "Small allocations, a few trinkets, some minor insurance claims. But the core of it? Everything he built with your mother? That goes to you." I felt my breath catch. "They think I don't matter." Halverson leaned forward. "Then let them keep thinking that. Until the reading." He handed me a formal invitation. "I've scheduled the will reading for next week. They'll all be there. You should be too. For the first time in years, I didn't feel powerless. Felt like I was finally holding the truth. And it was about to crush the lie they built around me. The will reading was held at Halverson, and associates in their main boardroom, a polished glass box with a long mahogany table that probably cost more than my entire apartment. I arrived 5 minutes early. Kendra arrived 15 minutes late. Her heels clicked arrogantly across the floor. As she walked in, flanked by her 2 golden children, Madison in a tight black dress and Eli in one of Dad's old watches, like a badge of ownership. They didn't even glance at me. I watched their eyes skim the room. Confident, relaxed, like they already knew the script. Kendra gave a pitying smile when she spotted me. Danielle, you made it. I was invited, I said, calm. She raised a brow. Cute. She turned to Eli. We'll let her hear the crumbs Dad left her. Maybe a framed picture or a book. They all laughed, like I wasn't even there. Mr. Halverson entered the room with a thick folder and a small recording device. Thank you for coming. This won't take long. He clicked the recorder and cleared his throat. The following is the last will and testament of Charles Monroe Moore, updated and notarized 2 months prior to his passing. At first, they looked bored. Kendra started texting under the table. Madison was chewing her gum. Eli was already stretching his legs. Then came the part they weren't ready for. I, Charles Moore, leave my full original estate, including my premarital house, the Greenstone cabin, my library collection, and my 40% company shares, to my daughter, Danielle Brooke Moore. Silence. Kendra froze mid-text. Madison's gum dropped from her mouth. Eli blinked, hard, like he thought he'd misheard. I didn't move. I didn't need to. Furthermore, Halverson continued, should there be any challenge to this document, said challenger forfeits their right to all remaining assets. Kendra stood up so quickly her chair tipped backward. This is a joke. Halverson calmly closed the folder. It's legal, and it's final. I turned slowly to face them, keeping my voice soft. You erased me from his birthday, from his funeral, from his life. But he didn't forget me. Kendra's face turned white. I stood up, tucked the invitation back into my purse, and walked past them. They had built their lives on a lie, and I had just brought the truth crashing down. The next morning, I woke up to 22 missed calls. 7 from Madison, 5 from Eli, 10 from Kendra. I didn't answer a single one. Instead, I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of coffee, rereading the will for the 5th time. I kept waiting for it to disappear, for it to be some cruel fantasy I'd dreamed up, to make myself feel like I finally mattered. But it was real. A knock came at my door around noon. I peeked through the peephole, and there she was, Kendra, in a beige designer coat and oversized sunglasses like she was trying to disguise shame as style. I opened the door just enough to look her in the eye. Danielle, she said with that fake smile she wore when trying to sell lies as compassion. May I come in? No, she sighed like I was being dramatic. Look, I just want to talk. Woman to woman. I raised an eyebrow. Now I'm a woman to you? Last month I was the maid's daughter with delusions of relevance. She didn't flinch. Impressive. Let's not dwell on the past, she said. What matters is the future. And your future, Danielle, it's a lot to handle. That house, that company stake, those accounts, they come with pressure. I laughed. And I suppose you're here to help me manage it? I'm here to offer a deal, she said smoothly. Give Eli the company shares. He's more equipped. And Madison will gladly take over the Greenstone cabin. You can keep the rest. The rest. You're young. You're not used to wealth. I'm trying to make this easier for everyone." There it was, the condescending poison behind her voice. The same voice that once told me I didn't belong at Dad's office holiday party because I wore Payless shoes. I stepped outside, closing the door behind me. "You didn't just erase me, Kendra. You tried to replace me, and you almost succeeded, until he handed me that envelope." She tried to smile. "Danielle, we're still family." I cut her off. "You erased me from his life. Now you can watch me step into everything you thought was yours." And with that, I turned around and closed the door in her face. 2 days after I slammed the door in Kendra's face, a letter arrived. Certified, heavy envelope, from their lawyer. I didn't even need to open it to know what it was. A challenge. They were going to try to invalidate the will. I sat on my couch, running my fingers over the edge of the envelope while the city hummed outside my window. I should have felt scared. Or overwhelmed. I mean, they had money. Connections. A whole system that had always worked in their favor. But instead, I felt something I hadn't in years. Ready. So I called Mr. Halverson, told him exactly what happened. "They want to play hardball," I said. "Let's show them they're not the only ones with gloves." He chuckled. "Good. Because I've been holding on to some insurance for a situation just like this." "What kind of insurance?" "Your father was smart. He knew this might happen. So he left behind more than just a will. He left proof." Within days, Halverson filed a motion in probate court. Meanwhile, I sat silently while Kendra, Eli, and Madison made fools of themselves. They claimed Dad was confused when he signed the new will, that I must have manipulated him, that it was clearly fabricated because he loved us too much to leave us with nothing. But the court didn't care about their crocodile tears, because Halverson presented video footage, yes, video of my father, 2 months before he died, sitting in that same boardroom, healthy, coherent, firm. And in that video, he looked into the camera and said, "I'm making this clear for the court and for my family. Danielle is my daughter, my blood. And for years I allowed others to convince me to put her last, but no more. Everything in this will is my decision, and mine, alone. I will not allow guilt or manipulation to erase my daughter from my legacy." The room went still. Kendra tried to interrupt the playback. Madison started crying. Eli just sat there, stunned. Me? I sat tall, silent, because the truth didn't need defending anymore. It was speaking for me now. The court ruled in my favor, swiftly, decisively. The judge barely took 20 minutes after closing arguments before she returned with the verdict. The court finds the will to be valid, witnessed and executed in full sound mind. All primary assets shall be transferred to Danielle Brooke Moore per the decedent's instruction. The challenge is hereby dismissed. Kendra's mouth dropped open like she forgot how courtrooms work. Madison's hands flew to her face, hiding. Tears that were probably more about what she didn't get than anything she lost. Eli just stood there, stunned, arms stiff at his sides like someone had just pulled the plug on his entire future. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. Because justice doesn't scream. It settles. And that courtroom silence? That settled louder than anything I could have said. Later that day, Halverson handed me the official documents, the house deed, the bank accounts, the share transfer papers. Everything that had been held hostage by their greed was finally mine. I visited the house, first Dad's house, my house now. It was exactly how I remembered it. Stone fireplace, creaky floorboards, the photo of me and Mom still tucked behind a stack of forgotten books in the study. They'd never found it, because they never looked. I didn't move in immediately. Just stood in the living room for a while and let the air settle around me, like it was remembering me too. That night, Madison tried texting me. You happy now? You took everything from us." I stared at the screen for a moment, then typed back, "No, I didn't take it. It was never yours." And I meant it. They had spent years pretending I was invisible, unworthy, disposable. Now, they had to watch as the girl they kicked out of a birthday party stood on everything they once called theirs. And for the first time, they were the outsiders looking in. It had been 3 weeks since the verdict. 3 weeks of peace. 3 weeks of silence from the people who used to make my life feel like a bad dream I couldn't wake up from. But then, I ran into Chelsea. My old classmate. The same girl who once laughed when Madison called me Dollar Tree Danielle in middle school. We were both at the bank, and she looked me up and down like she was trying to figure out what had changed. "Danielle? Wow, you look different." "Life's been kind," I said with a polite smile. She leaned in like we were old friends, like she hadn't spent a decade pretending I didn't exist. "So, it's true, huh? About the inheritance?" I didn't confirm or deny, just raised a brow. She continued anyway. "I saw Madison at the mall last week, working retail. I mean, she tried to hide behind the display racks, but there she was, folding jeans." I said nothing. She used to brag about how she'd marry rich and never lift a finger. Chelsea added with a smirk, "Guess karma's got her doing minimum wage now." I felt a small pang, not of sympathy, but of clarity. This was what they were afraid of. Not just losing money, but losing status, losing the illusion that they were untouchable. Later that day, I drove by the cabin up in Greenstone. Dad's old weekend escape. Mine now. I stood out by the porch and looked at the trees swaying gently in the breeze, like they were welcoming me back. For the first time, I felt connected, not just to Dad's memory, but to my own power. My phone buzzed. This time it was a call from Eli. I didn't pick up. He texted instead. "Hey, can we talk? I think I need help." Funny. The same boy who once laughed as Kendra told me I was just the daughter of the help was now asking me for help. I turned off my phone. Because when they had power, they used it to crush me. Now that I had it, I used it to finally choose peace. Months had passed since the court ruled in my favor, and the dust finally settled. I wasn't just living in Dad's house. I was rebuilding it. The Greenstone cabin became my sanctuary, a place to heal and grow, surrounded by memories and fresh starts. I hired a small team to help me with the company shares, people who believed in me, who saw my worth beyond the dollar signs, and every time Kendra or Madison tried to reach out, whether with apologies, threats, or empty words, I simply blocked them out. I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. One evening, as I sat on the porch, the sky painted in gold and pink, I pulled out a photo Dad had given me years ago. It was of us, together, smiling, real and whole. I whispered, "Thank you, Dad, for seeing me when no one else did." Because in the end, family isn't just who shares your blood. It's who stands by you when everything else falls apart. And this time, I was standing strong.